In Limbo Kari was trying to express and go through and process her frustrations and upset that she'd actually survived COVID when she'd been told that she was probably going to die by night. So we'd arranged for Naomi for a press release to say that she'd passed away. We'd done everything just in case. And Kara, once she woke up, she was so distraught. It wasn't that, when you've had that many years of suffering, right from being young, and the suffering ongoing day after day after day, struggling to breathe, having pain throughout her body, pain throughout her brain, the school, everything, and struggling and being on what I would say risk of dying and potentially nearly dying so many times during her life. She come to the point when she was at peace and she wanted to go. So when we told her that she was probably going to go this time, it wasn't just me, it was the specialist, the matron, the callers. She was at peace with that. She was upset because she was upset that Tony, she was gonna, I think for want of a better word, she was upset for people she was leaving behind. But she wanted to go to her daddy. She wanted to go to her daddy, this daddy, that daddy.
Yeah.
And it was important to her. And because she had that peace, and then all of a sudden, she's having to go through that suffering again, that extreme suffering that Emmy is. Then she had to process that somehow. And I just said to her, I says, well, I would say things like, well, there must be a reason, Cara. There must be a reason why you still here. But she didn't want to hear that. So in some of her songs, she'll say, I don't want to know about that. I just want to know why. Why aren't I with you? Why aren't I with you in heaven, Lord? Why aren't I? Why do I have to go through all this pain and all this suffering? Again, and again, and again. And it comes to the point where, I held her hand in hospital, our hands in hospital. I just had a pillar underneath my hand to support me because it was that long. I was there virtually constantly for 6 days and 6 nights. And the only time I had to sort of rest was when Jenny come into Jenny's Cara's mum. And when she come in, she took over and held her hand. And I'd get down on the floor sometimes, and they brought me a little make-up bed in the room. The nurses did, thankfully. I just got there down for a couple of hours. But during that 6 days and 6 nights,
was she conscious at any time?
During those 6 days and 6 nights, she was awake, but there wasn't much there. She had been through a period where she'd had the midazolam and all the other drugs to actually help her go in peace because she was suffering. And then when she survived the night, I was watching the machines. I was taking photographs and sending them to the WhatsApp group for prayer, because we was, as a family, and everyone that knows it was pleased that she survived. But she had to go through the suffering. She had to go through all that heartache, all that struggle, and of disbelief. I can remember when she was a kid, and we were we went down to the doctors and said there's something not right. Jenny was having to rub her legs in the morning to help her go to school.
It was from the very early days.
In the early days, yeah. And so she'd rub her legs, get her legs going, and then, come on then, let's get you to school. So we never put anything in her head. Me and Jenny suffered with fibro for years, but we never mentioned it at all. So she never knew anything about it when she was a young girl. So I took her to the doctor.
So certainly nothing in the mind.
No.
She was very vibrant,
Oh, yeah.
a lively kid, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was in
A real mischief.
Oh, sure, right.
And didn't she rule the roost?
Just
in the house?
Just a little bit, yeah, she did, yeah, just a little bit, she did. She was good, but she was a good kid, but she really, the thing about it is that she, when we took her to the doctor, and the doctor turned around and said, stop putting it in her head, take her home, and just get her doing some exercise. So we did. But then we started to think about, well, could social services come? And when we started to think about, we started to get messages from family members saying that accuse us of Munchausen syndrome, send us links for us to research it to see if we actually are creating Kara's illness.
Yes, that's foul, isn't it, for any parent?
And it was ongoing. We kept seeing doctors and they were getting it wrong. Until eventually, after being told to go trampolining and everything else and carry on and keep doing all the stuff and to keep her exercising, and she was struggling. She told me once that she could never remember a day without pain. She doesn't understand what that means.
Yeah.
So then when it come to further down the line, and she started to lose use of her arms, and then started to lose use of her legs, and then being sent into hospital. They still haven't got a clue. Then in the hospitals, they haven't got a clue what to do with her. They just didn't know what to do. They haven't, and then it got to the point where people were saying it were in her head and all sorts of things, including medical professionals. And then we went to a point where we was in hospital when she was in uni, and she was doing really, really well, although she was in a wheelchair and she had to have assistance. Like sometimes she'd fall asleep in lectures because she was that physically unwell, but she still got there, and so she had people taking notes for her so that she could carry on with her education, so she could actually go through those notes after the lecture once she'd had a rest.
David, hadn't she taken a conscious decision that she would go to university and it would be away from home, even though she was ill, and she would manage herself? Yeah,
she focused on.
I mean, this is not a woman. This is not a girl who wanted to be dependent.
No. She was determined that she didn't want myself and Jenny to be her carers, no matter what. She wanted to make sure that she had her own life, no matter what. And she wanted to make sure that she could help people if she could, whenever. There's many stories of Kara's pushing the boundaries in so many ways. It was incredible, to be fair. But going back to the hospitals, she was admitted into, I think it was Aintree Hospital at the time. Me and Jenny rushed up from Derbyshire. So and it turns out that they got her in a normal bay, so a normal, loads of noise, right at near enough outside of the nurse's station. All the noise going on, everything going off, lights full on, etc. Everything that you shouldn't do for someone that's got ME.
No, because you need to reduce the levels of sensory stimulation.
Yeah.
To make the chances of even a little bit of improvement possible, don't you?
But what was even worse was, I asked if I could speak to have a chat with the consultant to find out what was going on. Because I didn't understand a lot of things, but I'm not daft. And So I finished planning a meeting with this consultant and another couple of doctors, and I sat down with them while Jenny and Cara's friend was with her, and we sat in this room. And I says, "Well, can I ask you your thoughts on ME and what you think about Cara's condition and what should we do from now on?" And he turned around and said that he recommended that we put her into a psychiatric hospital, that we take her off all the meds that's saving her, that's actually helping her with her pain, and force her to get well. That was their answer. Now, we know that there's been stories over the years with different documentaries, etc., of that happening before, so we're not surprised.
No, there was the famous story, wasn't there, of a psychiatrist prescribing exercise, swimming therapy.
Yeah.
And the child with ME, who has since recovered and doing very nicely, but the child with ME allowed to fall in the pool. And extremely sound. That's held up as an example of extreme cruelty towards someone with ME. But you've met similar situations in your dealings with hospital.
Yeah, it's key to understand that I'm not blaming the doctors and nurses involved. What happened in that situation was that I worked a plan out to get Cara out of the hospital as fast as possible, because they were just about to section her. You could see it a mile off. They were just about to section her and get her into a psychiatric hospital and kill her. Because that's happened in the past with other patients, and I wasn't willing to let that happen as a father.
Yeah.
So the following morning, we whipped her out before the doctor's round, because it was going to happen. With Cara's wishes, obviously, not without her saying, "I want this," and we just got her out and hoped and prayed that they wouldn't come after us. And I think if she would have been under 16 at that point and not at the university, we would have lost hands down. They would have called, but because she had her own mind and she could make her own decisions, which she was always right through to the end making her own decisions, it meant that we could get her out and keep her safe. So it's critical to people don't realise that this is going on today. It's not just years ago, it's today.
It's not just Victorian attitudes, these are attitudes of the 21st century, aren't they? People are still dismissive and still regard, and many, actually the situation is improving slightly. Many doctors are now educating themselves. But there's still an old guard who say, it doesn't exist, ME. Literally, it's all in the mind.
That's right.
No, I don't. Go away. And patients tell us at the ME Association. They tell us that of appointments they've had at their GP surgery, and they mention ME or micro, and they can see the doctor's eyes. This old guard type of doctor, the eyes glazing over. They don't want to know. The conversation finishes at that point, and they got out of the surgery so very quickly. Doctors don't. The old guard of doctor doesn't want to know. David, when Cara was a kid, before she became ill, what did she like doing?
She loved trampolining. She loved playing in schools. She just loved life. She was very often acting at the school plays and stuff. Still got videos of that now. And
great bunch of friends. Very sociable.
Yes, she had lots of fun and she had her friends. She had periods of bullying as well, but I think that was more to do with that we taught both our kids to have thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
And if something's right, it's right. So if she thought something was wrong, she'd say it. So that obviously that caused a few issues. So perhaps we ought to be a little bit careful on how I was bringing her up on that. But she had great times, and although she found it a battle, everything a battle, she didn't know any different. She didn't know that she was suffering. She thought it was normal to be in pain, to actually have stiff legs, to etc. etc. So she, I think it first started when she had a bit of glandular fever. I don't think she ever recovered from that. So that would be, I'm guessing now, but I'll say between 6 and 8.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So she, quite possibly, she'd had ME for most of her life.
Yeah.
But certainly it was diagnosed in her later teens, wasn't it? And was it difficult to get a diagnosis?
She didn't get a diagnosis until she was actually off her legs, and even when she was took to hospital in Sheffield, which originally she was we took her into Calo at Chesterfield, the Royal Hospital, and then they transferred her to Sheffield, which we saw that as a wonderful decision, but it was terrible. The day that she was admitted, she's a 16-year-old kid. She's only just 16. She's only just gone past her birthday, because her birthday is August. So, and I went up to Sheffield Hospital with her, and she, for better of a word, she was suffering. She wasn't in Chesterfield. She wasn't allowed to get out of bed without support, but she couldn't get couldn't walk anyway. She'd lost everything, lost the use of everything. She was really struggling. So then they transferred her to neurology in Sheffield, and we got settled in this particular evening, and I leave the hospital about 10 o'clock at night. And I received a phone call from Cara in tears at midnight, which I've only just got back, so about an hour and a half to get home. Just got in bed, and then get that phone call from Cara saying, "Dad, I'm really sorry, but they won't help me go to the toilet. I really need to go to the toilet, they won't help me go to the toilet." It turns out that the nurses didn't believe that she couldn't walk, so was trying to, this was abuse, was trying to force her to walk to the toilet, but she couldn't do it, couldn't physically do it. So I had, as I got to the hospital, the security wasn't going to let me in. I says, "If you don't let me in, I'll knock you over and I'll get in. I'm going to see my daughter." Now, I'm not that sort of guy, but when you're in those situations, I'm saying, "Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop me." So the phone's up the wall and I said, "Let him go up." So I went up. And I said to I asked about went to the, just saw Cara. She was in tears, but she was in the bed and she was safe. So I went straight to the nurse. She says, "What's this about? You won't help get to the toilet." By then, I think, I can't be sure whether she'd wet the bed by then. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I just turned around and said to the nurse, I says, "Look, all I'm asking you is treat her as if she's your own daughter. No more, no less. If I hear anything more like this, I'm going to take it further." And that's how we left it. A few days later, and bearing in mind lots of things happened in between, I said, just to explain that this Cara is only just 16. She really is only just 16 by a few days. We're talking weeks. I think it was early September when she was taken in. I said, "Please, whatever you do, include us in all meetings and consultations. We'll be here virtually all day." But I run the business at that time. and I was going into work at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I was leaving for hospital by 11, and just making sure that all the team had got everything what they needed, and then get off to the hospital. I was there by not long after 12. I said, if you need me to be there earlier because the doctor's coming round, please, no problem. But let us be there to support Cara in any conversations that's going on. I want her to have her say, and I'll just sit in the background, but I want to be there to support her.
Did it happen?
No. The consultant went to see Cara, and Terence said, Cara, you've got something called ME, and I don't think you'll ever walk again. And I wasn't there. And Jenny wasn't there. We were just on our way up to hospital. These are the sorts of things that are happening in our NHS that we're proud of.
This is a child of 16.
Yeah.
Lively with her own mind, but still a child of 16.
Yeah.
And having news like that. What the consultant's opinion forced on her like that, without any support.
Yeah. Shocking.
Absolutely.
And the thing is it's still happening today. It's still happening today. You know, there's so much, and I don't understand it, except for, you see, if I talk health and safety or safeguarding or anything like that, I do that as part of some of my volunteering in football. You can't use the excuse that I didn't know. You have to find out. So why, in our medical, throughout the world, in our medical profession throughout the world, aren't they finding out? And why aren't the governments doing something about it to reduce this suffering? Because Cara, I believe that Cara would still be here today if she wouldn't have been taken down the wrong roads of treatment over the years. It was shocking to say the least. And there's so many more stories. She was doing graded exercise therapy, all sorts of different physiotherapy at age 18 and 19. It virtually killed her. It put her into a relapse, and it totally ruined everything. She was just short way through her masters, so she'd won awards, she'd done so well, and then she did this physical therapy, and it wiped her out, put her into relapse, and she was bedbound for the rest of her life. Now,
just bear with that thought for a moment, please. Listeners who are not familiar with the illness might be saying, what's the man talking about? Of course she needs exercise. It's the recommended therapy for people with tiredness problems.
yes, right.
I'm thinking of the people who are not familiar with me, and of course that's not a view I support.
No. Let me give you a couple of scenarios. Just recently, last October, I had knee surgery. I had a new half knee. I needed to do exercises to make sure I get things moving again. That's perfectly okay. That's good advice. That's good. But I haven't got ME. ME, if you can have, let's say for instance, you manage. Let's look at the spoon theory maybe. If you imagine that a spoon of sugar is a spoon of energy, and you have 10 max in a day, so no matter what, your maximum is 10. So you might decide, for me, I can go in the shower, I can get ready, I can go to work, and I've still got 8 spoons left. I'm okay. I can go through the day, I can work away, I've still got 6 spoons left. I can get home, I can watch a movie, I've still got five spoons left. I go to bed, I've still got spoons left. Absolutely fine. Even if I've had a shattering day, I'm okay. But someone with ME, to get out of bed alone, for someone that's severe, to get out of bed alone, it'd probably take 5 spoons. You probably find that they've been through so much torment and pain and throughout the body, with muscle spasms and everything throughout the night, that have used most of the spoons trying to rest. So the only way to have someone with ME to grow the strength is to do it steady away and actually allow it to go as your body allows it. Now there's technology out there. My wife's got an app that tells her it's specifically for people that struggle with illness, and it tells her how many spoons she's got. It's not spoons, but so let's say, because we're talking spoons, and it guides her, because like yesterday she was on level 2 out of 5. So she was on level 2 out of 5. That meant she's really got to be careful, because if she overdoes it, she can go into overdraft and mean that she's actually using tomorrow's energy today. Now that's.
I must ask, does your wife have any?
We hope not. We say fibro.
Yes.
We think that's the correct diagnosis. Cara's always thought that she might have ME, but we're hoping not. For 2 reasons. One is the stigma of ME with the medical profession,
yep,
and the government.
Yep.
And the second one is that we don't want to be going down that route if I don't want to be losing a wife.
Sure.
Because that's how serious it is, isn't it? So we hope not. We hope not. And we'll see.
We looked at the spoons theory. Tell me, the music, that voice, where did you find it?
Well, she's got family members that have been involved in music at different levels. Her grandma was a singer. Jenny's always done bits of singing. She's in the choir now. Not to any particular level. I mean, I think grandma was very good, and she did the clubs and stuff. Her uncle does the clubs, playing guitar and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit of music and acting and bits and bobs throughout.
But Cara's voice was spectacular, and I remember that very sad occasion of her funeral in, what is it, St Peter's Church?
Sharpwood,
in Sharpwood, and that Baby Breathe song, which you opened with. It was a freezing cold day in the church, but people were spellbound by the purity of this voice, the way it hung in the air. I mean, I know I was there. I was an outsider. This is what I noticed. But people were quiet. It was spectacular. You don't find a voice like that very far. Did you get any training at all?
No. Cara was naturally talented in all areas. Doesn't matter what she did. When I say naturally talented, she had to work hard at everything in life.
Yeah.
Same as us all.
And she had real gifts.
But she had real gifts. She had real gifts of love, real gifts of care, real, everything. But regarding the music, I think it was that, she started with acting. She went into dance and then did disability arts with dance. Then she went into other forms of art like painting. And then she went into writing and singing. But the thing is that the main reasons she moved through those channels was when she became less and less able to do. So it got to a point where she couldn't paint anymore because she couldn't hold her hand up long enough. She couldn't sit far enough upwards to be able to do her art. So it was too much for her. So the last thing she had was a voice. She didn't have anything else.
No, and for that album and that single, she needed huge support from other people. She couldn't have arranged the organ. She couldn't have turned up at a studio and at one session or a couple of sessions to book a studio. That was completely out. It was hard work. How much support did she get, and from who, to get that album out?
Well, firstly, she wanted to record a demo, which she did, but she didn't know. She had no physical. She was in hospital most of the time. I would say at some point 6 months a year, various reasons, but she. And then what it was is she wanted to record a demo. So Scott, a dear friend who we met at church, still see him often now. He used to do all the worship and that at church, and he's done the odd recordings. And so we said to him, "Would you mind helping Cara record this music?" So I said, "Yeah." So we brought the equipment into her room, because she had a room in the hospital because she had to keep separate because her immune system was really, really shot. So we went into this room and set all the equipment up and recorded her first demo in the hospital room in Kingsmill Hospital. So thinking about it was everyone. So Scott was an amazing guy, and he was helped on both albums. Very small amounts, but he's helped, and it couldn't happen without him. And then you got people like Naomi. I mean, she's absolutely amazing young woman. I mean, she has ME, and she has to measure her spoons. She has to keep her health in order as best as she can. But she's helped in so many ways throughout the time, even to the point where I mentioned earlier, where she actually wrote the statement for Cara's death.
Yeah.
So then you go back to when BBC Ben at BBC, he released about Cara once we released the demo track, which then allowed us then to actually connect with all the different musicians because of the BBC.
Yes, this was during lockdown.
Yeah.
There was little work from musicians at that time, and there was a guy called Liam Hicks, wasn't there, who was heavily involved. What was his part in all this?
Liam was central. What Liam did is he just turned and said, well, "Yeah, we can do this."
Where is he? Where is Liam? This is all done.
Well, he's in Cornwall.
He's in Cornwall.
And he got in touch with a load of his contacts. We passed him on.
Well, they're all musicians.
Yeah.
Out of work?
Out of work at the time, yeah. Out of work at the time. But you see, he's a session, when I say session, I'm talking about radio studios, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then live as well, all around the world.
Yeah.
So the people that he brought in was musicians from all around the world. And we had choirs, we had all sorts of different people involved in the first album, and
there was no money, was there?
No. It was just a blessing for everyone to be involved in something good, and it was just great. And there was a load of people that contacted us directly, so we passed all those details on to Liam, and he dealt with it all. And he was a tremendous asset.
Okay, he was receiving fragments of tracks from you because Cara couldn't sing the whole song in one go. Or she couldn't. What was the... She had this wonderful... I've seen pictures. She has this wonderful kit in front of her that she's singing into.
Yeah. When she says that she could sing it a line at a time or a word at a time or whatever, it wasn't quite true, but it was. Because Liam had received recordings, 4 or 5 recordings of the same song, and then he'd piece it together because Cara, with her breathing and everything else, because she was on oxygen all the time, and she was really struggling, her lungs were shot, everything about her was shot, she was just
and she was on this heavy pain medication,
yeah,
including up to fentanyl.
Yeah. And so it was more about that she had to find a way, and the only way really was to record it lots and lots of times and let Liam take the snippets out and piece it together, which he did. The original recordings that were sent him, he said I think it's best that we re-record them, so he sent us microphones and equipment, etc., that he wanted us to use to get the best out of it, and then we just recorded the Cara's helped, and we would just record. She recorded as she could. So if she had a bad day, she didn't do it. If she had a good day, she could do it. And what a lot of people don't realise is the pain and suffering thereafter. So when she did a recording, say sung a song about 5 or 6 times over a couple of days or whatever, that was probably done for a week or 2. So it took a while to get the tracks recorded, because the amount of suffering, and I'm trying to think of a name, paralysis, that sometimes happens because of the exertion of what she was doing, which to us sounds small, but to Cara it was massive, because she had ME, and the ME just restricted the amount of energy that she had. So, and with brain fog and everything else, and monitoring, she found it really hard. So there was a lot of suffering for doing it, but the outcomes is what she was looking at. She was willing to take the suffering for the outcomes, and she wanted to make sure that there was a voice for ME, for people with ME, to say, look, we're here. And that's why, and obviously Cara wanted to be remembered as she was. So it was like, not as she is, if you know what I mean, like was really suffering in bed. So, and sort of things like that. But it was like a balance between, she needed to show the suffering, but she needed to, so that's where it's still ME comes through, it's still me.
Yes, and it had remarkable effects, as I said, it lit up our little corner of the internet for days on end. It had I'm not sure whether it was the album or it was whether the single, but probably the album. The album achieved, hit the top of the charts for a short period of time. At one stage on one of the platforms, Cara was getting more visits and listens and streams than Taylor Swift, and that it was remarkably successful.
It was successful. There was TV, there was everything going on at the time. They didn't realise when they went to see her that she was going to pay massively for that. In fact, she virtually went into a bit of a relapse after that. The thing is that she managed to actually succeed and get through, and say number 1 in the download charts. She finished at number 8 in the main charts. Yes, for a short period of time, but still a massive success.
She came out sick, and she went into this, didn't she?
It
was such a huge effort.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But even now today, the music's being listened to approximately 60,000 times a year.
Yeah, I see the figures. You see the figures now. You make sure you do. You went into that first recording. I think we all did, quite innocently, didn't know what. To be honest, we were the amateurs. You didn't know what to expect, did you?
I'll tell you something though, what a lot of people won't realise is Cara was in charge in that album.
Yeah.
There was no ifs, no buts. She was in charge. She might ask for feedback, she might ask for support, but she was in charge. If the track was going in the wrong direction, she was straight down onto Liam.
Oh, right.
Oh, yes.
Poor lad.
And she appreciates him.
Yeah.
Still does appreciate him. I say appreciates him because I believe she's in heaven. But what I'm saying is that she would tell Liam straight away, no, not happy with that, scrap it, start again.
Yeah.
And because she knew what she wanted. So although some people might have thought that Liam was brilliant at what he did, but Cara was the artist.
Sure.
And Liam accepts that. And above me here is the original painting from it.
Oh, that's the original, is it? Oh, right.
Yeah. We didn't have that at first. What it was is that was sent to Liam. I didn't know, but Cara sent that to Liam.
Oh.
And when Cara died, Liam sent that to us.
Oh,
And I cried when I received it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who painted it?
A guy called, I think, Carberry Todd.
Oh, right. A friend.
Someone that Cara got to know.
Oh, right.
And she's.
She had this habit of picking up followers and friends, didn't she?
Yeah. Even when she was in Liverpool and she was fighting for a flat and somewhere to live, and she wanted to stay up there. She was determined she was going to stay up there. Anyway, the council, after being threatened that she was going to tell the papers that we're going to leave a disabled person on the streets, put her in this temporary accommodation, and all the people around her. I'm not being judgmental here, I'm just because I work in addiction, so I understand. But I'm saying just to express that she was with people that was on all the drugs that you can imagine, all the different situations.
Yes.
And she got to know them. She cooked them meals. She was in a wheelchair, and she'd say, "If you help me go to the shop, I'll cook you a meal." Okay then. And so we'd help her get to the shop. Yes. Now we got to the shop, and there's no way Cara could get in because there's no ramp. So they went and did shopping for her to cook the meal. Anyway, we get to find this out later that Cara was actually great friends with these guys and basically sharing God's love. She'd been filled with God's love, and she was just passing it back out.
Yes.
And what was key was, and really funny, is that it was an area where there was quite a bit of gun crime and knives and stuff like that. The car was in the centre of it. Jenny was worried sick. And I said she'd be alright. And then what happened was, it turns out a few days later this ramp appeared, concrete ramp appeared at the shop.
Yeah.
And we didn't know why till later. Then we found out that one of the guys that were got a bit of a history had a word with a shop owner and told him to make sure there were a ramp in place. And so he made sure there were a ramp in place, else he might have been shot.
Sure. Yeah, goodness me.
So it didn't matter who it was that she was getting involved in. She just had a way of actually showing how much she cared about them, because she did.
Yeah.
And because of that, it just come back. It just come back in different ways. Now, I didn't want the shopkeeper to be upset, or I didn't want that to happen to any shopkeeper, but it just shows what sort of things happened around her.
Yes. After uni, she came to Sharbrook. To this specially adapted bungalow. She insisted that she didn't want you and Jenny to be carers, that she needed her own rota carers. Who fixed all that That's quite hard work to get to that.
Yeah.
Or were social services
Well, no,
fully on board?
No. What it was is Cara was in Skelmersdale in a nice little flat.
Yeah.
We made it nice for her and she was okay, she was comfortable. But her suffering got worse and worse and worse. And one particular day, I work with a charity called Open Arms Romania, and they've been going to Romania since 1990. I've been going with them for the last 15 years, I think, somewhere around there. And what it was is we had a vehicle, the minibus, that we could potentially chuck Cara in the back of. So that's what we did. And it was Emily's wedding coming up. And so anyway, the guys from Open Arms Romania, we went up in the minibus, we grabbed Cara in the minibus, we actually transferred her into the back onto a mattress, etc. and got back to Derbyshire. But then that was for the wedding, for Emily's wedding, her sister. But what the issue was that social services was meeting me at the same time to actually work through some stuff, because she'd had situations where she was left on her own and not had no meds for a stupid amount of time, etc., and all sorts of things going off. And I just said to Cara, I said, I think it's time you don't come back here, darling. I think you need to go back to Derbyshire. And although she didn't like it, she says, okay, Daddy, with a few tears. She said, okay, Daddy. And
David, tell me, there may be no story in this, but I was at the funeral. It was fast. It was a huge funeral. The ushers told me after it was over there must have been 350 people there. Huge marks of respect for you and for her and the family. But the preacher was a man from Claycross.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which is miles, which is not too far away from here, but it's not Sharbrooke. Right? Did Cara seek? Did she look him out, or
no?
How did they meet?
No. What happened was Cara used to go to church in Claycross with a friend from school. And what it was is Ken was one of the leaders of C4 Church. Yeah. So it was her church. Yeah. What happened as regards Ken being involved in the funeral was my hope. I think Cara's hope and our hope would have been, if it would have been possible, that we would have gone back to our original church for a funeral. But there was a few things in the way. One is access. We needed to make sure, no matter what, that if someone that was ill or in a wheelchair or etc. could get to the funeral. So that's point one.
Yeah.
Now, we knew that some couldn't, but for those that wanted to, we wanted to make sure there was access. Well, the church at Claycross, there was stairs up. It was stairs to go upstairs. The lift was broken down, so it was like there was no way of actually achieving that. The second thing is that we wanted to make sure that the venue was big enough for those of people that wanted to come. We didn't know how many were going to come, 50, 100, whatever. We didn't know how many would come, but we wanted to make sure it was enough room. So that was the only venue, really locally, that we could get that would do the trick. So that was the main thing there. So Ken, who spoke about Cara, has known Cara for many years and knew Cara better than what Karen did in Sharbrooke Church. Sure. So it was better that he spoke about Cara because he knew all the history. Yeah. And he knew what
he did.
And he did a great job. Yeah. But the third thing we chose to Sharbrooke, third thing that we did as well is that we was concerned that because of Cara's lots and lots of contacts that were online. There was no way that they could have travelled from Australia, etc. to
The video recording
so
was a master plan.
so that's why we put the live video.
I watched it again a week or two ago.
Yeah, which was incredible, really. I mean, but we had to think about all those different things to make sure that everyone that knew Cara had the opportunity, if they so wished, to sort of pay their respects or whatever. But yeah, it was key that. So yeah, that's why it was all sort of put together that way, and it worked well, and it was okay. And someone spoke to Jenny only a couple of weeks ago, and said, "I didn't know he was Cara's mum." And she says, "Yeah." She says, "I did watch a funeral."
Yes.
So we were surprised about how many people actually did watch the funeral, which you don't go out your way to watch funerals, do you? To be honest, but obviously they must have felt a reason to do so.
Agree. Back to the album, I think we've got to get in limbo before we finish. The first album was produced or released on the 8th of August 2020. Thank you. 5 years on, Limbo, a posthumous album, mostly featuring Cara, a couple of songs from her sister.
Yeah.
It's coming out on the 8th of August 2025. How do you feel as a dad? What do you feel? I mean, you've been working hard. You've been determined, and so was Cara determined to record something. But as a dad, it must have been hard to do this.
Yeah.
Is it a great emotional roller coaster in the event?
I think it's we must finish what Cara started.
Yeah.
And I do believe that this is what she wants us to do. Because there's some healing in this album for those families and people with ME. So the people with ME and their friends and families, there's healing from this album.
And people must not expect a happy album.
No. It's a beautiful piece of music, and that's come from other people, not from me, because I always ask other people what they think. I know that someone that I know listened to the music and they cried. I know that Jenny cries at the last track on the album, every time virtually, because when Cara was suffering so badly, it's hard as a family member to watch that. And it's really, I mean, I used to do all the hospital stuff because Jenny couldn't cope with the hospital stuff. It was too much, and it was tough, especially when you think when she's on monitors and everything, intensive care and ultrasound. And this happened so many times. But the last track on the album is what Emily wrote about how she struggled to visit Cara because it was breaking her heart to see her suffering and to know that she might not be there another day. So she'd stay away more.
And felt bad about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, the thing about it is, Jenny was struggling with that. Jenny was struggling with that big time. And when she listened to Emily's song, it produced healing in her heart. because she realised that. So what I'm saying is, the album is real. It's difficult and it's real, but it will bring healing, because she's trying to process. Cara's trying to process conversations with her daddy, her father. And it's okay to be angry if you have a relationship. It doesn't matter whether someone has a relationship with the Lord or not. This is just, I'm trying to articulate it. Is that if your daughter comes to you and starts shouting and bawling and being frustrated at you as a daddy, well, that's okay. Is that a good dad? Or allow her to vent, to then give her a hug and say it's okay.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what Cara was doing with the Lord.
Yes.
She was venting a frustration and heartache and of all the suffering and everything she had to go through as part of ME. And it's, so this the album will help people process their struggles, because there's other people throughout the world that struggle with ME and related situations, illnesses, because there's all sorts of illnesses throughout the world. It's a real shame that people have to suffer the way they do. But what's key is that there'll be things within this album that'll help them to release that, and actually release that upset and frustration at medical professionals or situations or MPs or whatever.
I think you'll get a lot of messages like that, really heartfelt from people when they do hear the album.
And it's about finishing what she started. As she said before, she wanted to raise 100k for the ME research. She wanted, it was more not about the 100k. It was about the statement, so that then it starts to get up in the media.
Yes.
She wanted to achieve great things, but her body couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we can. She's left us she's left us everything that she started, and we've carried on and we've followed it through and got it to the point where it's with PRS and PPS now for the music side, the rights side, and everything like that.
And she left you on the 2nd of January 2023.
Yeah.
Is your piece, you think?
Yeah, I know so. You know that we're Christians,
yes, I wouldn't have asked the question.
Yeah. The Jenny sometimes has dreams and visions, and we know the dreams and visions. And one particular time, she believes that Cara came to her and actually told her. Maybe we'll get that from Jenny another day. But she actually told her, "Mummy, I'm okay now. I've had all my questions answered, and I'm okay."
I had a similar experience like that after I lost my wife.
Bless you.
Yeah. Don't talk about it just now, but I can understand that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, it was weird, but it was unusual. Anyway, it's kind.
I wonder how many people have that chapter happened to, but yeah. Well, I believe so. I believe that to be true.
Yeah.